Hey everybody, I am back with another IVF update video. If you joined me last time when I posted, we were in the middle of, excuse me, not Corona, trying to figure out if we were going to move forward with our embryo transfer. We prayed about it, talked about it, talked to different people, talked to the doctors, and tried to figure out what was the best step for us. And we actually said, let's move forward. It was a nerve-wracking decision, but we made it. And so I went and saw my doctor on the 16th of March, and my uterine lining and my lab work all came back all clear. So it was a go. Started my medication, which I'm going to go over with you guys actually in a few minutes. But yeah, started the medicine, super excited. Went to work later that day, and I had a patient that came in with shortness of breath, could hardly talk. I mean, like conversational. Every word, stop, breathe. Every word, stop, breathe. To the point where their spouse had to communicate for them. Also had a cough, fever, underlying health conditions. Where are you going? To the hospital because I thought the person had COVID, and they ended up testing the patient. But of course, we had to wait and wait and wait because we know that they have just approved a test that can give results in about 15 minutes. But traditionally, the tests have taken 3-4 days, sometimes up to a week for some people, to get their results back. So the week passed by, the weekend came and went. We did not hear back from the patient. And so by Monday in the office, we were like, well, maybe no news is good news. And then came Tuesday, and the patient called to let us know that they were positive. And so that put a damper on things for us. The patient was getting better, which I was super grateful for because we know what's been going on. But I was super bummed again because I knew that I would have to disclose that I came in contact with a positive patient, and I would not or could not put anybody else at risk at the fertility clinic because they had put in place guidelines to protect all of us and, the staff. So I had been taking medicine at that point, so Friday, so basically for 7 days, and I was supposed to go in last Thursday to have an embryo, not an embryo, but an update, lab work, and also another transvaginal ultrasound to make sure that the medicine was doing its job and to get the okay to move into the next phase of the medication. And then this coming week, Thursday, we were supposed to do the embryo transfer. But of course, after disclosing all of that information to my provider, they stopped us immediately. And that was a gut punch. I mean, never mind first trying to figure out if we were going to move forward. That was hard. And then waiting for the patient's results, that was also hard. But then hearing the positive result and possibly being exposed, I mean, I've experienced every kind of emotion. I told my husband on, I guess, Thursday or Friday, I had reached the Kubler-Ross stage of acceptance, but I went through every single stage of grief last week just because I was just so sad. It's like you are so close and you can kind of touch it almost, and then whoosh, it's taken away. And it's not taken away permanently, but I think I've said it in every video, the process of IVF is just not a straight shot. I mean, I haven't heard of anybody who's had smooth sailing, no issues, no surgeries, no setbacks, no this, no that. So to get to this point where we are literally 2 weeks away from putting in an embryo, and then to have that stopped, you can imagine how difficult that was. So, of course, I always come back to the fact that God knows best and it will happen when it's supposed to. And I've come to terms with that, and I'm reading a great devotion. Check it out in the Bible app. It's While I Wait, and I believe it's from a musician who has a song of that title, but it really has been so grounding to me, and just helping me to look at it from a spiritual standpoint, a practical standpoint, a Christian standpoint, and to not just get lost in the grief of it all or the sadness, but to be actively waiting. And so, not going to spoil it, but if you can, just go to the Bible app and get that one, because it's been, and it's only a 5-day reading plan, but it's been amazing. And so I've been posting the scriptures from that because they've all been about waiting on my Instagram, and it's just been really, really helpful. And once again, my husband, my family, my friends, they have stood in the gap for me and prayed for me like nobody's business. So I'm truly blessed and grateful for that. After being exposed to her, and I think I've had at least 2 or 3 other patients that had it as well, I was like, all right, I got to get tested, because that's the only way I would be able to move forward with our transfer. So I went, and first here in Texas, and I'm not sure about other states, but I would assume it's the same. You have to do an online screening, and then once you get approved through the online screening, they give you a code. And by the time I got the code, and this is Wednesday, and I was supposed to have an appointment on Thursday. No, it was Tuesday. Yeah, because I got the code on Tuesday night, and I was trying to get tested. But I still knew that the test wouldn't come back in time for me to move forward with the transfer. But I got my code. I called into the line, or the number that they give you, and I was like, okay, it'll take like 10 minutes. No, it took 2 hours to get a hold of somebody, like not standing in line. I was at work, so I was giving my phones to the nurses and like, hey, if they pick up, get me out of the room, yada, yada, yada. And so eventually they picked up, told them my symptoms, and it was me and one of my nurses. And so we both actually qualified to get tested. And so we drove an hour to a testing site, and they had one line just for the healthcare workers, which was really nice. And the whole process took us about 30 minutes, which wasn't bad, because I've heard people sitting in line for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. But this one was out in the boondocks, so I did not mind driving so that it wouldn't take us a whole tank of gas to get through the testing. And the people were so nice. They were organized. I mean, you saw the people in the hazmat suits and whatnot, and they're like, don't you roll down that window. More than we needed, okay? But it was a relatively painless process. We swab people for the flu in the same manner, and it goes up your nose, and it felt like they were trying to swab my brain at the same time, but they had to get all of it because you only have one shot. So did that, and then the waiting game began. They said you can get your results in 24 to 72 hours. And so Friday came and went. Saturday came and went. I went to work on Saturday, and my nurse who went with me, she actually got her results while we were at work. And I was like, hey, we were literally in the same car, got it done 2 minutes apart. Why did not calling me? Is mine growing? Do I have corona? Please, somebody tell me. But Saturday came and went, and then I got a call this morning. And praise God, it was negative. I mean, it was a sigh of relief. People were praying, and I was just very, very grateful. Not only in terms of our IVF journey, but just in general, because it's a serious virus, and we know that the elderly and those with underlying health conditions are at greater risk, but people that are younger and in their 50s and 40s and 30s are having serious complications, if not passing from this. So I do not take it for granted. I've had friends who their loved ones have it. So, I mean, I am praying for everyone in this situation, praying for our leaders that they can get their stuff together, but more so for the not more so, but for the providers who are literally on the front lines in the hospital, taking care of these people, the people who are running the testing centers. I mean, it's something that is really, I haven't seen anything like this, especially in the U.S. And then also being a provider. So it's been eye-opening, and I hope that we learn from this as a people, as humanity. But yeah, so very, very grateful that we were negative. Lewis has been quarantining himself from me, so now he can come back home or into our room. He was in the guest room. So yeah, I ran in the room this morning and just kissed all over him because we've been literally staying 6 feet away from each other at all times. So that's kind of where we are. The next thing with the IVF is for us to call with my next cycle. And I call them on cycle day 1, tell them what time it started. And then cycle day 3, I come in and basically start all over again. And not all over again, but all over again with the transfer portion of it. And while the side effects from the medications aren't lovely, I do it however many times it requires. So, talking about medication, I'm gonna quickly just kind of share with you guys what the regimen consists of. So first, prenatal vitamins. I love these. They're gummies, and actually I haven't had mine for today, but you take 2 of them, and of course they have all of the good stuff in it. The A, C, D, E, B complex, folic, zinc, omega-3, DHA, all that good stuff. And if you are trying to get pregnant or contemplating it, start taking your prenatal vitamins early. Because 1, they're just good vitamins, but also you never know when you're going to get pregnant, so you want to be ready. So these are good. And then the next thing that I take, or I was taking, is some estrase, and this helps thicken my uterine lining. So I take a total of 4 milligrams in the morning and 4 in the evening. Those 2 that I take in the morning to equal 4 milligrams, take it by mouth. The 2 in the evening, they are basically into your vagina. Hoo-ha. So take that every day. And then, let's see, where's the rest of it? Oh, so this is oral estrase, and then I had patches as well. And so these patches, 2 of them go on my belly, and I change them out every 3 days. And so I'm getting the estrogen through my skin and also orally. And like I said, these are to thicken the uterine lining and make it ready for the next step. So when I said on Thursday I was going to go and get an updated ultrasound and whatnot, they were trying to see if these medications were working. And so then that means that with the next phase, if everything was a go, I would start another medication. And the other medication includes another suppository type medication, adding progesterone to the mix. And so these are the little progesterone tablets. They remind me of like giant Pez candy, but you don't eat it. It goes up your hoo-ha. And so with this, I don't know if you can see it, but it has a little plunger, and the medicine fits in there, and you pull it back, you stick it up the vagina, and then you push the button, and it is a suppository. It goes up the vagina. And so that medication is something that I would take on the next phase after they tell me it's good to go. And then another medication is the progesterone in oil. Now, that medication, I was taking it last time when we were doing the, what was it? The mock transfer, where we were trying to find my window. And that hurts. it's not fun. I am sitting here looking for the medication because I had everything out and I'm not sure who moved it. It's not like somebody comes in here all the time. Like I literally legit don't see it. But anywho, it is a vial, a multi-dose vial. Let me put my glasses on. Maybe that will help the situation. Or maybe not. Like, I legit don't know where it went. Okay. Well, oh, it's over there. Hold up. All right. Sorry about that. So, progesterone in oil is this. Let's see. Can you see that? Basically, it looks like pale olive oil. And I would take a needle that looks like this to draw it up. Okay. And there we go. So you use that needle to draw it up. I don't know if you can see. I'm trying to get a good picture of it. There we go. Yeah, that's what you use to draw it up. 1 cc or 1 milligram, 1 milliliter of medication. That's a big needle, but luckily I don't have to use that to inject the medication. I use a needle this size. So this is a 23 gauge. This is a 22 gauge. And so, I'm sorry, 23, 24 gauge. So the larger the needle, the larger the number, the smaller the needle. Okay, it's reverse. Larger the number, smaller the needle. So 22 gauge, 23 gauge, small, larger. And this goes into your muscle and it goes into your glute muscle. And Lewis was giving me my injections. He gave me my first one and my bum hurt for 3 days afterwards. And that medication, or the progesterone and the suppositories, you have to take at a certain time. So he gave me my initial one, and then I would go to work and have my nurse give it to me every day at 11 o'clock because I'm a big baby and I can't give myself my own injection of that sort. The other injections that I did for the stimulation, those were sub-Q or kind of into the belly, and I was fine with that after a while, and one was even an auto injector, so I just had to dial it up and then stick it in. So that wasn't bad, but this one, you have to go slow, you have to pull back, make sure you're not in any blood, but you're in the muscle, and it just doesn't feel good. So this medication, actually, I will be doing the injection and the suppository. I will be doing those for at least 12 weeks into the pregnancy. So it's not over just once they stick the embryo in you. It literally, it takes a while. But I am just grateful for the ability to do this. I am grateful for everything that has happened, good, bad, or indifferent, because it is all a part of the story that we get to live out. So I am grateful for my husband, my family, my friends. I'm looking forward to little baby Booth, 1 and 2, because we got 2 embryos. And I will keep you guys updated. So the next time you hear from me, we will be moving forward with our transfer. So keep us in prayer, keeping all of you guys in prayers, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.